Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a fantastic Thursday so far. This is going to be our daily cryptocurrency market update. We're going to be doing some technicals on Bitcoin, looking at Bitcoin, really looking at markets across the board, because markets are looking pretty sick today. The Asian market didn't open great. The UK market hasn't opened brilliantly. The futures market for the US is down. And of course, Bitcoin is following suit. But really, just because the futures market for the US is down, what the US Open chooses to do is going to be telling. We are positioned into that. I do think today is going to be rather a down day. Just looking at how everything's opened. I mean, we've got the crypto market down. We have the futures market down. We've got the bond yields up. We've got the FTSE down. We've got gold down. We've got, really everything across the board down. And we've got the dollar showing a bit of strength. And we will talk about this because there is some pretty significant resistance here and some serious selling wicks taking place for the dollar. At the same time, if we jump down to the hourly, you can see that this 20K level is really being defended. I'm not sure who's bidding this up, but there's some serious buyers really trying to prevent Bitcoin from sort of not just getting below 20K, but staying below it. There's constant bids coming in to try and bid the price back up above 20K. Bulls are really going for this 20K level. And I kind of feel like, resistance is futile at this point. You guys know that we ultimately think the environment that we are going into in winter is going to be a particularly harsh one. This is Rolex Daytona sales, and you can see how they've sort of teetered off and fallen off a cliff, just like used cars, just like everything. And as we move into an environment where everybody needs cash, they're going to sell their assets for that cash, and that echoes through to the crypto space, something that we've been going on about now for months. And this is going to be, until we see reason to pivot, we believe ultimately we're going to get into some news like the fact that Credit Suisse held $31 million in digital assets for clients last quarter. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish on crypto over the long-term time horizon. But in the short term, things look pretty bad for not just crypto, but any market that's driven on liquidity, driven on dollars, driven on pounds, driven on euros, when everybody needs that money to make their electricity bills and so on and so forth. We are going into a real energy crisis, and I think that's the real narrative moving forwards. That's potentially what the bond yield curve has given us. Every time we've had a bond yield curve, we spoke about this time and time again, we've essentially gone into some sort of a, I wouldn't say crisis, but there's been an event that's caused things to kind of capitulate. And I think that we're yet to have that. And I think really potentially that's going to be the energy crisis that we're moving into. So I just want to start on the weekly, and then we'll get into some news. We'll talk about the fact that Michael Saylor is getting sued by DC for essentially not paying taxes within that district. But we will talk about this. I've always questioned Michael Saylor. When you look at MicroStrategy, it literally died in the .com boom and never came back until he bought Bitcoin. So I've always thought that, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a good guy. I have no idea. I don't know him. So like I said, I'm not really in a place to comment. But I want to just start with the RSI. Relative Strength Index. Now, one reason that we've said we're not pivoting yet is because we've not seen any bullish divergences. Potentially, we'll say this, the demand index, you potentially have one. We're going to do videos on indicators, so watch out for those guys, just ways that you can add indicators and sort of signals to look out for. Maybe you've got the money flow index in some kind of a diversion here, a bullish diversion. But it's not a strong one, and you're not quite past this midpoint, and you're sort of finding your resistance there. The demand index again. But really, for me, the big one is the RSI. The RSI is very much supporting this downtrend. And until we see some sort of divergence here, until we see that reason to get back into markets, we're not going to do so. And hopefully you guys have been prepped watching these videos now from sort of 44K all the way down to 17. And we still think there's more downside to be had. And we'll drop down the time frames and sort of talk about that before we get into some of the news. And you can really see, one thing maybe I'm looking for with, here is maybe, we get another roll, but we fail to take this low here. You see what I'm saying? So that's potentially something that's on the cards. And then you get this kind of, let's move this up a little bit. You get this kind of something like this, some kind of a divergence like that. and then you start, and then, okay, well, maybe we can look to allocate a bit of capital there. But for now, you know, we don't really want to be a buyer given all the risk that's on the table. And I honestly think that when people are pricing in interest rate hikes, they're doing that, and they're looking at, you know, markets are forward looking, but they're not pricing in a sort of risk element that I think we're yet to have, essentially. And Bitcoin is very much, you know, holding this very significant level. This has to be respected and is being respected thus far. The issue is that the pressure is really against it. If you ask me, you know, we had pointed out this broadening structure. We'd also pointed this trend line break. We weren't convinced on the rising wedge, but it did actually play out and come to fruition. Some people had the rising wedge like this. Some people didn't take it that far back, but you essentially met that target, depending on where you drew it. If you drew it from sort of starting from here, and then you found yourself at this lower trend line of this broadening structure. You know, we had alerted people to this. You then broke down, and we're now respecting this 20k range. You can see there was definitely bidders that bid the price up here. The issue is it hasn't been with spectacular strength. So we did give you, despite not thinking that it was the most probable, a bullish scenario for Bitcoin, and that would be if this turned out to be some sort of a double bottom. Now, we said in order for that to be the case, you need to see real strength come in here. You haven't seen that yet. So we were essentially looking at this and saying, okay, maybe if you wanted to be bullish, you'd look for some sort of a double bottom. But you'd need to see that strength come in and take you back to this sort of neckline. You've not seen that yet whatsoever. So there's no reason, in my opinion, we're bearish until we see reason to be otherwise. And certainly, you know, I also had said in that scenario that it wasn't a probable scenario of mine, and the reason being is because the macro really doesn't support it. You know, we just like to show you all these little things, whether it be the German saving rate, whether it be this, whether it be that. Rolex Daytonas, people are selling their Rolexes, people are selling their cars. You know, they need the cash. When in a environment where everyone needs cash, don't be in assets that get sold for that cash. Crypto is a perfect example, and you can see there's a few things going on here. I mean, for me, this 20k level, like I say, someone is bidding this. Look at these wicks. Someone is aggressively bidding this and hoping that basically what's going to happen is they're going to be right, and 20k is going to be a good enough resistance to see that upward continuation. I mean, even here, even though it's rolling and we're losing it, people are still bidding it up. So, you know, I'm not really sure. I think today is going to be definitely a down day. I think long term we're going to see 17k again. We're potentially going to come down to that sort of 15k region, and then we'll deal with it from there. You know, I'm not in the business of kind of going, oh, 12k. You know, it's going to go to exactly 12.5k or something like that. I really don't know. I'm just observing and kind of going with whatever the market's telling me. But I do think that, you know, you have had some strong bids here. So maybe you get some sort of a spike up and then you get the slam. It's not that clear cut, but I do think that a roll, you know, you've not seen sort of what I would call convictional strength here whatsoever. In fact, you've not seen it at all. This is not strength. This is you coming down, hitting your head and really failing to actually go up and even come and test this grind line. So something like that would have been nice. And that gives you sort of execution on the deviation. You've not even seen that. So that's very, very telling in my opinion that this is still very weak when we have other pressures around us selling off. You know, FTSE, let's take a look at the FTSE. Absolutely diving. Gold, continuing to dive. Dollar, seeing a bid. Dollar's at some serious level of resistance here. But just like, so for Bitcoin, let's actually put Bitcoin up here and I'll show you the difference here. Can you see I mean, first of all, the correlation is very obvious. We've continued to reiterate this. But can you see how the dollar is at this level of resistance from its prior high? Bitcoin is at that 20k level. And the difference here is this is strength. Because you can see how instead of harshly rejecting off it, it's consolidating around it. Maybe you push above. Whereas Bitcoin's doing the exact opposite. Instead of giving you that strength and going, okay, we're at 20k. Let's get that push to the upside. Let's look for that W double bottom. It's not doing that. It's grinding along it. And then you get the drop, just like the dollar will go up. So can you see how the opposite's in effect here? Dollar's up today. And what else have we got? We've got the Asian markets haven't opened too well. The Hang Seng Index. We've also got the Nifty 50, which is down. There's lots going on in China, though, to be fair, and other Asian regions. We also have the futures market. So we've got the NASDAQ 100. We've got the E-minis for the NASDAQ, and we've got the E-mini for the S&P. You know, it doesn't look, I'm not sure what I was trying to do there, but it doesn't look particularly brilliant. The real telling sign is going to be what happens when this opens. You know, does this open positively? It's had quite a strong pull to the downside. Let's switch it to the daily. Does this continue? You know, you've had quite a few down days. Maybe you get a bit of a break. The problem is with this is when this rugs, just as fast as it's come up, it will go even faster down. And we do think that the environment that you're moving into is akin to 2008 and the 2000s. We've been saying this for months. And that is not an environment where you want to be buying risk on assets. Certainly when people are looking to sell their Rolexes, for goodness sake, for cash. If everyone needs cash, don't be in a market that gets sold off for that cash. We've got Michael Saylor moving on to a bit of news. We'll give you some bullish news because I am exceptionally bullish on the crypto space over the long-term time horizon. I just think there's pain in front of us. This is really significant because the fact that Credit Suisse are now holding digital assets for people, this is going to be something and a trend that we're going to see continue. We're going to be diving in. We're going to start on a daily basis now, diving into projects that we're really interested in. Now is a great time to learn about the crypto space to set you up in the long run. And that's what we're going to try and facilitate on this channel. So the fact that Credit Suisse in the last quarter hold $31 million worth of digital assets for people is bullish, sign of the direction we're moving towards. And essentially the SEC is allowing this. You know, it's... Do you think all these... One thing people are worried about is regulations, right? Do you think all these big players would get into the crypto space if they believed that the SEC were going to regulate crypto out of existence? No, the opposite is true. We have Michael Saylor. So, sweet Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy owes $100 million plus of damages from back DC taxes. The District Attorney General claimed Saylor's personally illegally avoided paying more than $25 million of taxes of DC's taxes. Sorry, guys, I've been very early morning. I was up very early this morning. Just weeks after stepping down as MicroStrategy's long-time chief executive, noted Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor and his company, the largest public traded Bitcoin holder, is facing legal accusations that allege systematic tax fraud with penalties that could amount to more than $100 million. The Attorney General of Washington, D.C. said in a statement, Saylor has lived in the district for more than a decade, but has never paid local income tax. So this is going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Whenever somebody doesn't pay taxes, people are always in outrage. Like people don't try and avoid taxes. And you can avoid taxes legally, and that's how you should do it. Don't mess with the tax man, guys. You will end up in jail, and you will end up with a lot of headache for a long period of time. Pay your damn taxes. I am not for taxes. I'm for taxes, and I think we need taxes, but I'm for fair taxes. I think the tax that we have at the moment are robbery. And don't get me wrong, some of that money does find its way towards helping people. But the majority is squandered. You know, people spend money very liberally when it's not theirs. But people are always in outrage when people don't pay taxes, even though nobody wants to pay taxes, guys. But I'm getting way off topic. So this is going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. We have OpenSea Marketplace won't support forked NFTs post-merge. So this is interesting, and we're going to do a whole video on Ethereum and the merge, because you're essentially going to get two of everything that exists on Ethereum now. That's going to be chaos. That is really all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents. Have a fantastic Thursday, and I'll see you in the next one.